Dear Chosen One, have you ever felt that no matter how kind you are, how peaceful your intentions, or how faithfully you try to live, there's always someone who misunderstands you, judges you, or targets you without cause? People stare, whisper, or subtly resent you, and you're left wondering, what did I do to deserve this? But what if the real reason has nothing to do with your actions and everything to do with your anointing? You may not realize it yet, but when God chooses someone, He places within them a radiant light, and light always attracts attention, both divine and dark. You didn't land here by accident. You were drawn here, guided by the very Spirit that watches over your journey. Maybe it's the confusion you've been carrying in your heart, or the pain you've kept hidden because no one seemed to understand it. But today you'll begin to understand. There is a spiritual law working behind the scenes, a divine principle that governs what many ignore, the law of return. And when that law is activated in the life of a chosen one, it is swift, sacred, and undeniable. And right here I want to take a sacred moment to say this from the depths of my heart. To every single soul who has supported this space through super thanks, thank you. Your generosity keeps this mission alive. Your kindness allows these messages to reach the hearts who need them most. Whether you've donated or not, please know your presence here is deeply valued. You are part of something bigger, and I am endlessly grateful for your support. Now, let's return to the deeper truth. The people who attack you without cause don't realize they're not just coming for a person. They're coming against a divine assignment. They're touching what God has protected. And that never goes unnoticed in heaven. God sees your silence. He knows your restraint. And while it may seem like He's quiet, He's never inactive. Every injustice is being recorded. Every wound, every betrayal, every false word, they're all noted by a God who never sleeps. While you're crying in secret, there's a reordering happening in the spiritual realm. Heaven is already moving. The ones who plant destruction against you are unknowingly sowing their own downfall. But the ones who remain faithful, even while hurting, will reap a harvest not only of blessing, but of heaven's honor. Because the law of return isn't vengeance, it's divine balance. It's God putting everything and everyone back where they truly belong. So if you've ever asked, why me? Or why does doing good feel so hard? Then stay close. This message was created for your spirit. You are not cursed, you are called. And that calling brings both resistance and recompense. You'll learn today why your struggle is not a punishment, but a preparation. Why your tears have been watering the seeds of a future far greater than your pain. And if this message is already stirring something inside you, pause and take a moment to comment 777 down below. It's more than a number, it's a declaration. I receive this. I claim my restoration. I align with heaven's justice. Let it be your sign of faith. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear may finally give you the clarity your soul has been waiting for. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and the justice of heaven is already on the way. God's chosen ones. The law of return is cruel to those who attack you. Chosen one, have you ever noticed how the sharpest arrows often come from those standing closest to you? Isn't it strange that betrayal doesn't always wear the face of an enemy, but sometimes the face of a friend, a sibling, or even someone who once claimed to love you? The attacks rarely arrive from the directions you expect. Instead, they slip in quietly, disguised as concern, cloaked in subtle words, or hidden in the silence of those who should have spoken up. And you sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? But the truth is, chosen one, you didn't do anything wrong at all. You were simply born carrying a light, a frequency of truth, purity, and divine favor. And that kind of brilliance disturbs the spirits of those still trapped in shadows. The problem isn't your behavior. It's your energy, your essence, your calling. You walk into a room and something within you shifts the atmosphere. Those without spiritual alignment can't explain why your presence makes them uneasy. But you feel it, don't you? The looks, the microaggressions, the veiled comments, they pierce you in ways no one else sees. Why would a co-worker who barely knows your name seem so threatened by your mere presence? Why would a family member consistently downplay your wins? Could it be because your favor exposes their compromise? The Bible speaks clearly about this phenomenon. In John 3:19-20, it says, "Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light, because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. You, chosen one, are the light." And even when you're not trying to expose anything, your mere existence becomes a mirror to those who don't want to see their own reflection. Do you recall the story of Joseph, the dreamer? He did nothing but share what God showed him, and his brothers hated him for it. Not because of something he did, but because of what he represented. The favor of God on your life, much like Joseph's coat of many colors, is visible even when you try to hide it. It triggers jealousy, suspicion, and rejection, not because you're flawed, but because you're marked. And what about Harriet Tubman, who rose from the chains of slavery not only to set herself free, but to liberate hundreds of others? She was hunted, slandered, and even doubted by those she tried to save. Her courage made others confront their own fear, and for some that was intolerable. Isn't it remarkable how history's liberators are often first seen as threats? You've likely experienced this too, haven't you? Someone giving you a harmless piece of advice that cuts into your confidence. A quiet withdrawal of support when you're most vulnerable. A celebration that turns into envy the moment you succeed. These aren't coincidences. These are the marks of spiritual warfare, and the battleground is your purpose. Psalm 27:2 confirms this. "When the wicked advance against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall." The attacks may seem relentless now, but they are temporary. What they don't realize is that the harm they aim at you is being stored and counted by heaven. Every wound, every lie, every act of betrayal is recorded, and one day, justice will speak on your behalf louder than you ever could. Even Mother Teresa, known for her compassion and humility, was not immune to attacks. She was harshly criticized, doubted, and accused by the very institutions she sought to uplift. But she continued her mission, knowing her reward was not the approval of man, but the blessing of God. She once said, "If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway." Sound familiar, chosen one? The spiritual reality is this: what you carry is holy, and what is holy cannot coexist in harmony with what is unhealed. When you're walking with purpose, you become a disruption to stagnation. Your elevation exposes others' unwillingness to grow. Your peace irritates their chaos. Your clarity threatens their confusion. But here's the question: how do you keep going when the people you trusted most become the source of your pain? How do you keep your heart soft in a world that keeps giving you reasons to harden it? The answer lies in remembering this truth from Isaiah 54:17. "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." God doesn't promise that weapons won't be formed. He just guarantees they won't succeed. Your strength doesn't come from avoiding attacks. It comes from knowing you are shielded even as the attacks come. Think of Fred Hampton, the 21-year-old revolutionary who tried to unify communities in peace. He was assassinated in his sleep, betrayed by someone on the inside. And yet his legacy, his message, could not be buried. Like you, he was misunderstood because he was ahead of his time, and because the truth always threatens those who live by lies. So don't minimize what you're feeling. Don't gaslight your own intuition. When you feel that someone's joke carries venom, when the silence of someone you love feels louder than a scream, when your spirit warns you that something is off, you're not imagining things, you're perceiving truth. The spirit within you is discerning. Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." God has seen it all. And the law of return, chosen one, is not yours to enforce, but it will not fail. Those who attack you are not just attacking a person. They are trespassing against a divine assignment, and the spiritual consequences of such actions are not mild. So if you've been wondering whether God sees, whether he understands how much it's cost you to keep going, the answer is yes. And not only does he see, but he is already preparing the reversal. The pain will pass, the purpose will prevail, and the very people who mocked your silence will one day hear your roar. Chosen one, do you realize what it truly means to be set apart by God? To touch you is not merely to offend a person, it is to come against something that has been anointed, consecrated, and sealed by heaven itself. Many who rise against you don't even realize the gravity of what they are doing. They think they're targeting a person, a personality, or an opinion. But in reality, they are interfering with the movement of a divine plan. And when someone interferes with what God has chosen to set in motion, there are consequences, deep, invisible, irreversible ones. Psalm 105:15 declares, "Do not touch my anointed ones and do my prophets no harm." This isn't just poetic language, it is a spiritual law, one that heaven enforces with precise and holy judgment. When someone mocks you, schemes against you, or tries to sabotage your path, they are not just insulting your humanity, they are trespassing on holy ground. Why? Because you are not walking alone. You walk with the covering of a God who has placed his seal upon your life. And that means, whether people recognize it or not, your life is protected real estate in the Spirit. The question is, why do people attack what is holy? Why do they disrespect what they don't understand? The answer is simple. Darkness always feels threatened by light. But what they don't realize is that while they're busy trying to break you, they are activating a higher justice. A justice that may not be loud, but is always certain. Divine justice doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It moves in silence, often in places you'll never see. But make no mistake, it moves. And when it moves, it rebalances everything. Sometimes you might not witness what happens to those who harm you. You may never see their downfall with your own eyes. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because God's justice is not performance, it is law. Galatians 6:7 puts it plainly, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." This is not a suggestion, it is a promise. And when someone sows betrayal, harm, or slander into the life of a chosen one, the harvest will find them. It may take weeks, months, or years, but it will arrive, wrapped in the precise justice of heaven's timing. Take the story of King Saul and David. Saul could not tolerate the favor that God had placed on David's life. He pursued him, attacked him, even tried to kill him, all because David's light was too bright for Saul's insecurity. But David never retaliated. He never lifted a hand against Saul. Instead, he waited, he endured, he cried out to God, and in time, divine justice moved without David having to raise a sword. Saul's own choices unraveled him. And what about Martin Luther, the German theologian who challenged the power of religious corruption during the Protestant Reformation? He was hunted, labeled a heretic, and nearly executed, but he stood firm in silence and truth. And centuries later, the world now regards him as a reformer, not a traitor. His attackers, forgotten by history, buried by the very systems they tried to protect. So ask yourself, chosen one, why do you feel tempted to defend yourself when you've already been defended by God? Why spend your energy trying to correct false stories when heaven is already rewriting your legacy in truth? The more they try to pull you down, the more they activate the force of divine retribution they cannot see coming. God is not slow. God is strategic. His delays are not denials. They are opportunities for repentance. Sometimes he gives your enemies time to change, to turn from their ways, to undo the harm they've done. But if they don't, if they continue planting pain in your life, then that seed becomes their own destruction. Ecclesiastes 3:17 says, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. You don't have to wait and watch for this judgment. That's not your role. Your role is to remain grounded, faithful, and silent when necessary. Let your integrity speak. Let your peace be your proof. Think about Nina Simone, the legendary musician and civil rights activist. Her passion and brilliance stirred deep discomfort in the systems around her. She was ridiculed, blacklisted, and silenced, but never defeated. She once said, "You've got to learn to leave the table when love is no longer being served." And she did, without bitterness, but with clarity. Over time, her influence only grew, while her detractors faded into the background. She let her art and calling speak louder than revenge ever could. That's what it means to be chosen. You don't retaliate, you rise, you don't clap back, you evolve. You don't scheme, you soar. Because while your enemies work in whispers, God works in waves. Waves of protection, restoration, and justice. Isaiah 30:18 reminds us, "Yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore he will rise up to show you compassion, for the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him." So wait, chosen one. Even when you feel tired, even when the lies are loud and the betrayal feels unbearable, wait. Because as you stay faithful in the shadows, God is orchestrating a comeback in the light. And while they're plotting your fall, heaven is planning your rise. While they're celebrating your pain, heaven is preparing your platform. And while they're sowing thorns into your path, God is already planting gardens under your feet. So no, you don't have to fight back. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't even have to be understood. Your only mission is to remain steadfast, even in silence. For your silence is not weakness, it is sacred alignment. And while you remain still, God is moving. While you endure the attack, God is building your armor. While they judge, mock, and underestimate you, God is elevating you to a place they'll never be able to touch. Because the law of return is not yours to enforce, but it is His to fulfill, and He never misses. Chosen one, do you ever catch yourself wondering why your journey seems so different? Why your battles feel heavier, longer, and more complex than others around you? Why does your path seem so narrow when others walk wide roads with ease? The answer is simple, yet profound. You are carrying something they are not. The weight of your calling, the intensity of your purpose, and the radiance of your light. These set you apart, not just in blessing but in burden. That's why you cannot compare your life to theirs. They aren't fighting your battles, and they aren't holding what you're holding. 1 Peter 4:12 speaks to this directly. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you as though something strange were happening to you. Your calling attracts battles, spiritual wars uniquely calibrated to your anointing. But don't be afraid, because with every war comes a divine deliverance that matches it in power. And you don't even know how many unseen battles God has already fought for you. How many traps never activated. How many accidents were divinely rerouted? How many whispers of the enemy were silenced before they reached your ears? Do you remember the story of Elisha and his servant in 2 Kings 6? When the servant panicked upon seeing the enemy armies surrounding them, Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes so that he may see." And suddenly the servant saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire. The enemy was real, but God's protection was greater. That's your reality too, chosen one. You may not always see it, but heaven is camped around you, watching, shielding, and moving with you through every step of the storm. So when the attacks come, and they will, pause before you take it personally. It's not about who you are in the physical. It's about who you are in the spirit. It's about the mark on your soul. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on those who aren't a threat. The intensity of your opposition is proof of the importance of your mission. So instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What does heaven see in me that hell is trying to stop?" Even in the confusion, even when nothing makes sense, God is not shaken. He does not lose control, not for a moment. Isaiah 41:10 reminds us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." No one can move against his chosen without him seeing, without him responding in due time. Nothing touches you without passing through the filter of divine permission. And if it's allowed, it's because it will shape you into something unshakable. Do you know the journey of Sojourner Truth? Born into slavery, she endured beatings, the loss of her children, and systemic dehumanization. Yet she rose with spiritual fire and defied a nation. She became a speaker, an abolitionist, and a vessel of God's truth in the face of oppression. Her attacks were not random. They were a direct response to the spiritual power she carried. And so are yours, chosen one. In your most silent moments, when no one is around to affirm you, when the noise of the world fades and all you hear is your own heartbeat, know this: you are seen. Not just by others, but by the one who formed you. You are protected, even when you don't feel it. You are deeply, unconditionally loved, not for what you do, but for who you are in the eyes of your Creator. Psalm 34, verse 19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." This season of attack, this emotional exhaustion, this inner conflict, it's not forever. This too shall pass. And when it does, you won't just return to who you were before. You will be wiser, you will be stronger, you will carry spiritual maturity and discernment that cannot be bought or taught, only earned in the fire. Think of Frida Kahlo, the revolutionary artist who suffered immense physical pain, betrayal, and isolation. She turned her suffering into art that changed the world. Her suffering didn't define her. It refined her, just as your trials are refining you into something rare, something heaven sent. So take a breath, chosen one. Yes, even now, right here, in this moment. Inhale peace, exhale fear. Stand in the awareness that you are not alone and you never have been. Even when you felt forgotten, even when you cried with no one to hold you, God was there. Not watching from afar, but walking through the fire with you. Deuteronomy 31:6 reminds us, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." The entire kingdom of heaven is moving in your favor, even when it seems like the world is moving against you. You are never abandoned. You are never forsaken. You are covered by a covenant no force of darkness can override. And whoever dares to harm you, chosen one, whoever raises their hand, their voice, or their schemes against your peace, is not just dealing with you. They are dealing with something sacred. Your life is consecrated. Your path is divine. And anyone who touches what is sacred invites consequences they are not prepared to face. Do you understand now why your life looks the way it does? Why things fall apart only to be rebuilt stronger? Why attacks feel personal but always lead to unexpected breakthroughs? It's because your life is not about survival. It's about transformation. And transformation often begins in fire. So keep going, keep showing up, keep being who you are, even when it hurts. Because the pain isn't the end, it's the passage. And on the other side of it is the version of you that hell fears and heaven celebrates. Chosen one, have you ever felt that God's silence meant he was distant? That perhaps in the thick of your suffering he had turned his face? You've watched others lie about you, plot against you, sabotage your progress, and yet nothing seems to happen to them. You cry in secret asking, God, do you not see this? Have you forgotten me? That question has haunted many who carry divine purpose. But what if the silence is not absence? What if it's strategy? The pain you're enduring may feel overwhelming, especially when heaven seems quiet. But the truth is, God sees everything. Every word spoken against you, every betrayal behind your back, every attack veiled in smiles. His justice is not delayed, it is deliberate. Because unlike man's justice, which operates on evidence and visibility, God's justice moves from truth and intention. Ecclesiastes 8:11 says, "When the sentence for a crime is not quickly carried out, people's hearts are filled with schemes to do wrong." The world often confuses God's patience for passivity. But chosen one, don't make that mistake. God delays only to give space for repentance, not because he's unsure or incapable. And when his time arrives, nothing and no one can stop his hand. Think of Corrie ten Boom, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust after hiding Jews in her home. She lost her father and sister in concentration camps. For years she wondered why God allowed such horrors. But after the war, she became a powerful voice of forgiveness and faith across the world. She once said, "There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." God's justice doesn't always come as lightning from the sky. It often arrives as quiet but unstoppable vindication. When someone rises against you, slanders you, or mocks what God is building in your life, they believe they are winning. They laugh, they gossip, they try to shake what was divinely planted. But what they fail to understand is this: you are not yours to destroy. You belong to God, and whoever touches you touches heaven's property. Zechariah 2:8 makes it clear, "For whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye." Do you realize what that means, chosen one? You are not just protected, you are precious, intimately guarded, divinely monitored. No attack against you goes unseen, no injustice goes unanswered. And while the world may need lawyers, documents, and witnesses to administer justice, God needs none of that. He sees the unseen. He hears what's spoken behind closed doors. He knows the motives and the hidden intent. So the next time someone harms you and walks away smiling, understand, they are not walking away free. They are walking deeper into the consequences of divine law. They may not fall today. You may never witness it with your own eyes. But the law of return is already moving, like an arrow silently guided toward its target. Do you remember Abimelech in Judges 9? After killing his 70 brothers to seize power, he ruled in arrogance, until one day a woman dropped a millstone from a tower, crushing his skull. It seemed random, but it wasn't. It was divine justice, not loud, not immediate, but exact and final. And maybe you've seen it already, chosen one. People who used to hurt you suddenly vanish from your life. Some fall into their own traps. Others experience setbacks they never saw coming. Coincidence? Not likely. It's the quiet hand of God, clearing your path of threats you never knew were there. Romans 2:6 reminds us, God will repay each person according to what they have done. This is not about vengeance. It's about balance. Divine justice doesn't operate out of rage. It moves with perfect truth. Those who sow chaos in the life of a chosen one will reap it in their own. Not because you cursed them, not because you retaliated, but because spiritual law is immovable, and what is sown must return. Even John Lewis, the late civil rights leader, carried this truth through decades of non-violent resistance. He was beaten, arrested, and ridiculed, but he never fought fire with fire. He trusted in divine timing, knowing that the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice, even if slowly. And in the end, those who tried to silence him had to watch him honored by nations. But chosen one, be warned. That same divine justice also applies to you. Don't let your pain poison your spirit. Don't allow bitterness to twist your purpose, because while God will fight for you, He will also hold you accountable for your thoughts, your words, and your responses. Proverbs 4:23 urges us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. You do not need to clap back. You do not need to prove anything. You don't need to match their energy. Stay clean, stay humble, stay in alignment. Heaven fights clean, but fights completely. Sometimes the return comes in a job lost, a door closed, a relationship broken, not to hurt them, but to humble them. God doesn't destroy people. He gives them the opportunity to face themselves. And if they refuse, then the consequences multiply. Do you now see the power of letting go? Of surrendering justice to the only one qualified to administer it? You were never unprotected. You were never alone. There is an attentive gaze that watches you night and day, a divine hand that shields, corrects, and clears. When you understand this, your soul will rest. You will stop wondering when and how justice will fall. You will stop needing to watch your enemies fall to feel validated. Because now you know they were never fighting you. They were fighting your Creator. And in the fullness of time, He will place every person exactly where they belong. You will rise. You will walk freely, lightly, and cleanly, because your hands remained pure while heaven handled the rest. Chosen one, let's be honest. It hurts. It hurts when they lie about you. It hurts when they mock your faith, ridicule your purity, or sneer at your values. And when the wound is still raw, every part of your being cries out for a reaction. Your hands want to strike back. Your words beg to be heard. Your soul aches for justice. That anger you feel, it's not evil, it's human. But here's the divine truth. Just because you feel it doesn't mean you're called to act on it. God never called you to respond as the world responds. While others scream, He trains you to remain silent. While others retaliate, He raises you to walk away in grace. Why? Because your path is not built on vengeance, it's carved from elevation. And chosen one, elevation always requires surrender. Romans 12:21 says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." That's not weakness. That's spiritual warfare at its highest level. God is not ignoring your pain. He's not telling you to suppress your emotions. He's asking you to trust Him with them. You see, He doesn't waste what wounds you. He transforms it. He shapes it. He forges a greater version of you in the fire that others meant to destroy you. Have you noticed something strange happens when you don't respond to evil with evil? When you pause instead of lash out? When you choose forgiveness over fury? The world calls it foolishness, but heaven calls it mastery. You're not just holding your tongue, you're holding your future. Because every time you decide not to repay evil for evil, you advance to the next level of your calling. Even the great Nelson Mandela, after spending 27 years in prison, emerged not with bitterness, but with the courage to forgive those who imprisoned him. He once said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." He understood what many don't, that forgiveness is the ultimate form of freedom. You're not weak for feeling pain. You're not ungodly for being angry. But here's the test. What will you do with it? When you see those who hurt you suffer, when they stumble or lose what they once used to mock you, will you rejoice in their fall? Or will you release it into God's hands and walk forward freely? This is where the chosen are separated from the crowd. Because chosen ones don't celebrate karma. They celebrate clarity. They don't seek revenge. They seek release. That's the secret. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. It's not about making what they did okay. It's about refusing to let what they did hold you hostage. Ephesians 4:31-32 teaches us, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." You can't carry your calling while carrying resentment. There's no room for both. You must choose. Remember Princess Diana, who, despite global scandal and betrayal, chose dignity over destruction. When the world wanted her to fight back, she extended grace. And history remembers her as a light, not a victim. Her forgiveness became her legacy. Could the same be true for you? God is not out for vengeance. He is out for transformation. When the law of return is activated in someone's life, it doesn't always show up as punishment. Sometimes it shows up as a lesson, a breaking point that leads them back to the truth. And sometimes God will even let you witness it, not to puff you up, but to test your response. Will you gloat or will you grow? Because chosen one, bitterness delays your blessings, resentment builds walls around your destiny, and every second you spend reliving their offense is a second you're not stepping into your future. So ask yourself, are you still holding on to the pain because you want justice? Or because part of you believes you need it to feel complete? Matthew 5:44 takes it even deeper. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. This is not weakness, it is divine strategy. The ones who master this become unstoppable. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, can hold down a soul that has been unchained from bitterness. Think of Malcolm X, a man who once spoke with fire and fury, but later in life evolved into a man of peace, seeking unity beyond vengeance. His journey teaches us that healing is possible when transformation is chosen over retaliation. The same is true for your life. God's justice is already at work. You don't need to stir it. You just need to get out of the way. When you forgive, you open the door for heaven to flood in with healing, growth, and supernatural movement. You say to God, I trust you more than I trust my emotions. And that, chosen one, is when your reward begins to multiply. Proverbs 20:22 declares, do not say, I'll pay you back for this wrong. Wait for the Lord, and he will avenge you. Let God do what he does best. Fix what's broken, correct what's crooked, heal what's wounded. Because he doesn't just bring justice, he brings restoration. So yes, you have every right to cry. You have every right to scream in prayer. You have the right to feel. But you also have the power to decide. And when you choose to release, truly release, it tells heaven, I'm ready for what's next. That's when the shift happens. That's when the blessings accelerate. That's when the weight lifts off your shoulders and you begin to soar. Because in the end, none of this is in vain. Every betrayal, every scar, every sleepless night, they've all been shaping you into someone stronger, freer, purer, someone who is not just surviving, but ascending. That's why you were attacked. That's why you were tested. And that's why you're still standing. Chosen one, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, how are you still standing? After all the lies, the betrayals, the abandonment, the silent battles no one knew you were fighting, how are you still here? The judging looks that made you question your worth, the hurtful words that echoed in your mind late at night, the moments when your heart broke quietly behind a composed face, and yet you rise. Perhaps you're scarred, maybe even tired, but you're still steady. And here's the truth. This is not just your resilience, it is divine preservation. What tried to destroy you didn't win, because something greater has always been fighting for you behind the curtain. You've felt like quitting more times than you can count, haven't you? But even in your darkest hours, there's always been this silent push inside of you. an inner voice that refuses to let go, whispering, "Keep going." That whisper, it has a name. That strength, it has a source. It is not just your inner willpower. It is the very presence of God within you. You were not surviving by chance. You were being sustained by the one who called you, chose you, and marked you. Isaiah 40:29 says, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak." You've been on the edge. You've faced exhaustion in your spirit, but still, God poured something invisible and powerful into your being. Not everyone sees it. Not everyone will understand it, but you know it's real. You've felt it. In the silence of the early morning, when your pillow was soaked in tears and your soul had no one to confide in, God was there. Think of Helen Keller, who lost her sight and hearing before she was 2 years old. Everyone assumed her life would be filled with darkness, but with divine perseverance and help, she became one of the most influential voices in education and advocacy. She once said, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it." That's what chosen ones do. We overcome, not by might, not by sight, but by the Spirit. And you, chosen one, are not where you are because you had it easy. You're here because God carried you when your legs gave out. He strengthened you when you were emotionally paralyzed. You've walked through tight spaces others wouldn't survive. But why? Why would a loving God allow those battles? The answer may be simpler than you think. He was preparing you. James 1:12 declares, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." The pain wasn't just pain, it was preparation. Some battles were there to expose those who were never meant to walk the journey with you. Others taught you how to rise without applause, and still others. They exist only so that you would know your strength doesn't come from this world, it comes from above. How many times have you said, "I can't do this," and yet you did? How many nights did you pray for God to take the storm away, only to wake up stronger instead of rescued? This is not weakness, it's divine endurance. Consider Harriet Tubman, who returned repeatedly into danger to rescue others after escaping slavery. She said, "I never lost a passenger." That strength was not hers alone. She was guided, shielded, and empowered by a force she knew was from above. Just like you are being led, even when the path feels unclear. So when people look at you and don't understand the weight you carry, chosen one, don't be discouraged. Not everyone was called to live what you live. That's why not everyone can walk with you. Your deserts are different, your trials are heavier, but your victories, when they come, will be undeniably divine. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 captures your story well. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. You are still here, not because of luck, but because of purpose, divine purpose. Your survival is not a coincidence, it's a message. And yes, being chosen means walking through valleys. It means navigating through betrayal, heartbreak, confusion, and injustice. But every tear you cried watered the soil of your future, and now something sacred is starting to bloom. Do you remember Chadwick Boseman, the brilliant actor who silently battled cancer while delivering world-shifting performances? No one saw his fight, but the fruit of his endurance touched millions. His legacy reminds us that God can use your hidden battles to produce global impact. Chosen one, you are not being broken, you are being reshaped. You are being forged like steel, refined through fire, but never consumed by it. Every test is molding you into the version of yourself that your destiny requires. And while the world may try to hurt you, heaven never stops healing you. Psalm 46:1 assures us, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. You are not walking alone. Heaven walks beside you, angels surround you, grace covers you, And even when the enemy tries to shut you down, the spirit within you rises louder than every voice trying to silence you. You've cried, but you've conquered. You've been wounded, but you've worshipped. You've been betrayed, but you've built again, because nothing and no one can keep down someone who is upheld by the hand of the Almighty. So don't question how you're still standing. Know it, embrace it, declare it. You are still standing because you are chosen. You are still moving because you are called. And you are still rising because God is not finished with you yet. Chosen one, have you ever sat in the middle of chaos and suddenly felt an unexplainable calm wash over you? A peace that makes no sense given what you're facing? Have you ever looked back at a situation that should have broken you and realized it only built you? That's not a coincidence. That's not emotional strength alone. That's the hand of God working behind the veil, holding your soul steady in the storm. While others see only pain, you've learned to see purpose in the pressure. What felt like it came to destroy you ended up molding you. Philippians 4:7 explains it best. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This is not the kind of peace the world gives. This is the sacred supernatural peace that only those marked by divine calling experience. Peace that wraps around you in your darkest hour like an invisible armor. Chosen one, you need to understand this. God never promised to spare you from the fire, but He did promise that the fire would not consume you. Why? Because while the world tries to break you down, God is building something unshakable within you. Every trial, every betrayal, every season of silence wasn't wasted. It was training. Have you noticed how the people who tried to weaken you only ended up strengthening your resolve? That's the irony of being chosen. They thought the insult would break you, but it built your discernment. They thought the silence would isolate you, but it drew you closer to God. They thought the betrayal would end you, but it launched your next level. Everything they did to hurt you, God has turned into a stepping stone. Genesis 50:20 reminds us, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done." That's not just Joseph's story, it's your story too. You are the one they tried to bury, but didn't realize you were a seed. Look at Bethany Hamilton, the professional surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack. Most thought her career was over, but she returned to the waves, becoming stronger than before. The world looked at her and asked, how did she survive that? And her answer was always clear: God gave me peace and strength. That's exactly what people will say about you. When they see your rise after the breakdowns, your smile after the losses, your glow after the grief, they will wonder how you made it through. And you will know. It was never just willpower, it was God. Always God. Every scar you carry, chosen one, is a signature of survival. But more than that, it is the mark of refinement. Gold only shines after it's been tested in the fire, and so do you. Your tears, they weren't wasted. They watered the ground beneath your feet. Your disappointments, they forced your roots to go deeper, anchoring you in faith instead of people. And the injustices, they carved out space in your soul for wisdom, clarity, and divine reliance. Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." That's why you didn't drown. That's why you didn't crumble. Because you weren't walking alone, even when it felt like no one understood what you were carrying. Think about Nick Vujicic, born without arms or legs, who once contemplated suicide, but today speaks to millions about hope, faith, and purpose. The very thing that was supposed to limit him became the platform God used to elevate him. Could it be that your limitation is also your launching pad? Right now, while you're still wrestling through confusion, God is orchestrating something beautiful. He is restoring what's broken, cleansing what no longer belongs, and fortifying the very places that once felt weakest. And when the dust settles, when peace returns, you'll look around and realize, I'm not the same person anymore. People will say, how did you make it through that? And you'll respond with quiet certainty, it was God. He held me when I wanted to give up. He whispered hope when my voice was gone. He stood when I collapsed. And he kept me when I couldn't keep myself. 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds us, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. That means your low points were never liabilities. They were invitations, opportunities for God to show you what human strength could never accomplish. You see, chosen one, the attacks were never just attacks. They were divine classroom moments. They taught you to trust less in man and more in God. They stripped away illusions, leaving behind only truth. They deepened your roots. They stretched your spirit. And though you may not have understood it while it was happening, you'll look back and thank God He didn't rescue you too soon, because it was in the struggle that your identity was forged. Even when you felt abandoned, God was near. Even when you felt unseen, He was watching. And now He is preparing to reward the one who didn't give up, even without understanding the process. Think of Dr. Ben Carson, the renowned neurosurgeon who grew up in poverty and constant discouragement. His mother couldn't read, but made him read every day. He was mocked, misunderstood, but through God's guidance, he rose to become a pioneer in medicine. That's what happens when you endure the pain instead of running from it. It transforms you into someone extraordinary. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Your harvest is coming, and it's not just justice for what they did to you, it's honor for how you responded to what they did. You didn't curse them, you didn't become them, you remained faithful. So don't doubt your strength, even if you feel tired. Don't judge your growth just because you still feel pain. God is still building, still healing, still writing the masterpiece of your life. And one day soon, what felt confusing will make sense. What seemed unfair will reveal its hidden blessing. What was meant to break you will be the very thing that proves you were never breakable to begin with. Chosen one, how many times have you sat in silence and questioned yourself, wondering if your grace was wasted? Have you ever asked, am I foolish for continuing to forgive, for showing mercy to those who showed me none, for pressing on when all signs said to give up? You weren't weak, you were planting seeds, and heaven was watching. What you did wasn't in vain. The kindness you gave, the mercy you offered, the silence you chose instead of retaliation, all of it was spiritual currency. You may have cried while sowing those seeds. You may have done it with trembling hands and a bleeding heart. But in the kingdom of God, those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126 verse 5. You didn't lose time, you invested it. You didn't lose battles, you laid foundations. And now, even though you may not see it all yet, your harvest is already being released. Doors are beginning to creak open. Unseen favor is gathering. Right people are being stirred in the background to step onto your path. Why? Because God rewards those who remain faithful in secret. Chosen one, let this truth anchor your heart. God's reward is not limited to what can be seen. It's peace when the world expects panic. It's healing that radiates through your mind, body, and soul. It's that quiet joy that shows up in the middle of chaos. These are the kinds of gifts no man can steal, because they're written into your spirit by God Himself. Hebrews 6:10 affirms this. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown Him as you have helped His people and continue to help them. Heaven is not blind. God remembers every time you chose love over hate, faith over fear, patience over pressure, and when His reward arrives, it will fit the weight of the pain you carried. Do you remember the story of Joseph? Betrayed by those who should have protected him, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused and forgotten in prison. But not once did he stop trusting. Not once did he retaliate. And in due time, God elevated him to rule over the very land that once rejected him. That story was not fiction. It was a pattern. It can happen to you. God doesn't just restore, He multiplies. He returns what was stolen in a form more refined, more powerful, more tailored to your future. Your reward won't be random, it will be personalized, made in heaven, timed to perfection, and released in a way that causes even your critics to say, "Surely God was with them." Deuteronomy 33 reminds us, "Then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where He scattered you." God specializes in collecting every shattered piece of your life and arranging it into something greater than you imagined. Look at Tyler Perry, who once lived in his car, rejected and broke, ridiculed for his dreams, but he kept writing, kept praying, kept forgiving, and today his legacy isn't just success, it's redemption. His reward came not only in wealth but in healing, in impact, and in showing others that God restores on another level. Chosen one, this is your call to keep going. Keep sowing your obedience, even when no one claps for it. Keep extending grace, even when none is offered to you. Keep walking in love, even when surrounded by bitterness. Because heaven does not miss anything. God is writing a new testimony, and your name is on the cover. Matthew 6:4 tells us, "Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." Not might, not maybe, will. That peace you feel despite your circumstances, that's already part of your harvest. That strength you feel today that you didn't have last year. Another gift, the way your discernment has sharpened, how your patience has deepened, how your spirit has matured. These are signs that God has already begun rewarding you internally. And the external reward, it's coming too. Promotions, restoration, divine alignments. You may not expect it. It may arrive quietly. But when it comes, even those who doubted you will have to stop and wonder, how did they come out of that stronger? And you'll smile, not out of pride, but from a quiet knowing. It was God. Think of Viola Davis, who came from deep poverty and trauma, but never gave up. Today, she is an icon, not just because of talent, but because of perseverance through pain. Her life echoes this truth. What others try to silence becomes the very thing God uses to elevate you. So no, you are not living in vain. No, your tears were not wasted. No, your long nights and lonely prayers were not forgotten. Heaven saw it all. Heaven kept record. And when the return comes, it won't just be justice, it will be honor. Romans 8:18 seals it. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The weight of your reward will outweigh every pain you've endured. And when it arrives, chosen one, it won't just bless you, it will silence every lie spoken against you. So hold your head high, walk with peace, because what's coming is not from man, it's not a favor, it's not luck, it's God fulfilling His promise to the faithful, and soon everyone will see you are not just blessed, you are chosen. My beloved chosen ones, if your heart led you here, it was not a coincidence. Heaven has a way of delivering the right message at the exact moment your soul needs it most. Whether you're carrying the weight of a pain buried deep for years, or struggling through something fresh and raw, you were meant to find this word today. And this is your confirmation. God sees you. He hears you. He has never left you. Even when your path felt confusing, even when the silence of heaven echoed louder than your prayers, God was moving. He never brings His chosen halfway just to abandon them. There is a purpose still unfolding, even in what you don't yet understand. If your process has been painful, it's because your story was built to carry power, not only to heal you, but to heal others through you. With God, nothing is wasted. Nothing is too broken to restore. He knows how to redeem time, renew strength, and rewrite endings. And yes, your tears have not been ignored. Your silent prayers didn't disappear into nothingness. They were collected, stored, answered on the timeline of divine wisdom. Soon you will look back and realize the very moments that nearly broke you were actually building the unshakable version of you. So keep going. Do not let fatigue lie to you. You have already come too far. You have overcome what many could not survive. That strength inside you isn't coincidence, it's grace. And it's the unmistakable mark of one set apart by God. What He begins, He always finishes. And what He prepares, He honors. Understand this. What's ahead of you is greater than anything you've lost. And when it arrives, you'll finally see the beauty behind every delay, every rejection, and every tear. God will surprise you in ways that make your hardest days look like a shadow against the brightness of His promises. He will connect you with people who see your worth. He will elevate you to places where your story makes sense. You didn't endure all this for nothing. There is a mission, and you're about to walk in it. So don't stop. Don't freeze in discouragement. You are standing on the edge of a shift. The pain was real, but so is the reward. And the light that's coming will outshine every dark moment that tried to break you. This message isn't just a whisper of comfort. It's a divine signal, a confirmation, a promise. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared. And now the gates are opening. Your future is calling. Before you leave, I want to say this from the depths of my heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing this message to enter your spirit. Your presence means everything. And to those of you who have supported this space through Super Thanks, I am deeply grateful. Your generosity helps keep these messages flowing to others who need them. Whether you've donated or not, please know this: you are appreciated, you are valued, and you are never walking this journey alone. If this message touched your heart, consider sowing back into it. But even if you don't or can't, your attention, your time, and your spirit here are already a gift. And now I speak this blessing over your life. May God go before you, clear your path, restore what was lost, and open doors you didn't even know existed. May peace flood your heart, strength rise in your bones, and joy meet you where sorrow tried to live. May everything the enemy tried to use against you be turned for your good, and may your next season be the one you've prayed for in silence. The best is yet to come. You are chosen, you are rising, and your reward is on the way. With love, with faith, and with deep gratitude, Amen.